will share a little bit about my backstory because that will help us understand, where I'm coming from and help in the journey that we are going together. I'm basically an electronics engineer from Pune University. I got to go to the US way back in 93, 94. I was in the US for about 11 years. Went there as a programmer, grew up the ladder to become a project manager, team lead project manager, then delivery assurance manager. Was handling a lot of multiple accounts towards the end of my stint there, 3 accounts to be specific. Had a lot of responsibility, great achievements. Things were pretty hunky-dory. I always wanted to, of course, come back to India for good, even though my son is born there. So I didn't take up my green card. I didn't sign up my green card. 2004, I came back to India. So that's me, I take my calls based on certain principles, it's not about the money or the status. It's more about the values. So because my parents were here and didn't, suit them to stay in the US, I came back to India. My son grew up in India then, and I set up my offshore development center for an SAP consultancy practice in 2004 in a place called Powai Hiranandani in Mumbai, which went well. And then, probably after a year into it, I had some health challenges because I was working the US hours and also traveling back and forth from the US. Every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I used to travel for 1 week to the US. So took a break from work. The entrepreneurship bug bit me, so I wanted to become a entrepreneur. I started a BPO recruitment and training center in a place called Mulund, Mumbai. Ran that successfully about close to 8 years. I also did network marketing in this span while I was at the recruitment business and training business. I also did network marketing. Somebody brought the concept into me. I did an online video conferencing and marketing tool, which was something very exciting, even though probably the marketplace was not ready for it at that time. 2005, 6, 7 I'm talking about. Things used to buffer, speeds were less, but it was fun. It was great fun. Made a big team. I had a team of about 25,000 people across 4 countries. Things were good until probably a stage where I had 2 challenges. One, many big companies, big name companies, I won't name them though, did not pay me for my services in recruitment and training. Which was a little shocking, but I didn't have that experience and knowledge. I didn't know because I had worked all my life in the US. Tried my best to work with the HR folks and work around and see if I can get my money back. A lot of them would not pay me on time, or there will be other mechanisms. There's so much competition in the placement, BPO placement services at that time. Also, in the network marketing where I was at peak, I was doing probably about 1 lakh per week. Averaging, when I found that there were some ethical issues in the companies, the way they were operating. Some of the facts that they had me share with my team or folks were not right. Again, as you know me by now, ethics, principles, values take over, and I moved out of that company to get back into a job. Tech Mahindra is where I joined 2013, and since then had been working with Tech Mahindra, doing what I love to do, which was sales training. I was the sales talent leadership head there, trained over 600, 700 folks across various levels of sales capabilities. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of good value in terms of creativity, a lot of bandwidth that they had provided that you could work with. Good experience and thoroughly enjoyed what I was doing. Everything was hunky-dory until there's every story has a turn, right? And last year, May, I think it was 17th, I used to go for this regular fitness regimen that I had. I had my diet and stuff, and I used to do a 20-minute walk followed by 20-minute jog and a 20-minute walk, cover 5-6 kilometers on a daily basis. And I was pretty comfortable doing it, but on May 17th, I remember last year, 2018, when I was doing my jog, I do it in a parking area near my apartment. I had a little bit of a chest pain. I ignored it, went around completing it. The next day, my wife suggested, why do you want to jog? Just do a walk instead, since you're straining yourself a little bit. I did my walk, 1 hour walk, but then the chest pain persisted. And that night, I also had restlessness, breathlessness, and some palpitation. That night, did not sleep well. The next morning, met my doctor, my primary doctor. He suggested I go meet a cardiologist. I went to Hiranandani, saw a cardiologist, and he went through my details and he suggested I do a CT angiography just to check and make sure things are in place, which is fine. And then the next morning, I went back home, everything was fine. A couple of days later, I was to get the report. I went there to collect the report. Now, I was pretty sure things would be good, but then when I saw the report, it didn't have good news. It had a 90% block in one of the arteries, which, put me down a little bit psychologically, and, I was like a little worried and concerned for me and my family and stuff. Met the doctor. He put me on medication, for a week, and then suggested that I come back to do a manual angiography, because that's the, authentic test. Sometimes the CT angiography readings don't come out right. So manual angiography, I don't know if you know, is like, they cut through, they have a catheter that goes in, and he said if there is an actual block, we will actually fix it. We will put a stent there, and, you'll be fine. Went, got that done, and what they found when he did that was there's not much of things to do. The CT angiography report was not accurate. So they had 30-40% block is what he saw in one of the arteries, LAD, it's what it's called. Now, as per him, anybody age 45, 50 will actually, if you check their arteries, they would have 30-40% block because of the surroundings that we are living in, the contamination, the pollution, and the lifestyles that we all live in. So I left it at that, and then he gave me medication, and he said you should be fine and get back to your work, and get back to your activities. Now, went back and did that, but then I had palpitation that night again. And the night after, I had breathlessness, couldn't sleep, I troubled my family. I was going through challenges still. And that's when my cousin, who is a doctor in Palghar, he suggested that I go and see a psychiatrist, because it's probably not an issue of the heart, it's probably a psychological feeler or some anxiety and stress issue that probably I was going through. So I did that. I went ahead and met a psychiatrist who was near my place. She went through all my details and studied and analyzed, and after detailed discussion, she came up with asking me all the questions. She came up with pinpoint accuracy, finding out what was actually causing the challenges. Because I was back to walking and I was absolutely fine. There was no chest pain after that. What was found was, what was actually happening when I was traveling. Remember, I was working in the US for 11 years, never worked in India, and I started to work here and did my business and did my work here. I was going through a lot of silent anxiety and stress because of the noise pollution, because of the traffic. I used to get frustrated and hated, the morning commute to work. I used to hate the noise. So I had these, high-end earplugs that I buy and I use because I cannot tolerate noise. I was like averse to it. This was building up on me for months, and that caused the kind of, anxiety and stress, which started showing up in my body as this pain and that pain, right? So she gave me medicines, and I took a break. I took a 1-month break on, loss of pay though. I took a 1-month break. This was July, August last year. And in that break, I had all the time, and I was thinking through, I was retrospecting, introspecting, figuring out what could be, what can I do next? How can I avoid this anxiety? How can I get back to doing something that's productive? I was looking out for opportunities and mechanisms that can help. That's when I was talking to a few people, and I talked to one of my friends, who's my mentor now in India, and then, he pointed me to a coach in the US. But in the both of them, I started to learn and understand that there is this fantastic business model that's possible, the freedom business model, which excited me and in which I saw a solution. Because I was thinking whether it is Dubai, Shanghai, Chennai, or wherever, Mumbai, everybody is going through this silently. There are many people who don't have a solution, but they are stuck in this rat race, this rut, this chakra view, this matrix. Can I unplug them from the matrix? Can I help them get unstuck from this, you know, vicious cycle? They don't have a solution. They are commuting. There are people who, I commuted 45 minutes. I got to know there are people who commute 3 hours each way every day. I can understand how frustrating in rainy season with traffic and the road conditions across the globe, not necessarily only Mumbai. And I thought we have a solution if I can work on it to understand and get to the bottom of it. That's when I figured out the entire system and processes, dwelled deep into it, dug into it to figure out how we can leverage and maximize and come up with an optimized system to build that can help us. And I want you to take this seriously. If you want freedom, here's my backstory, and I am on my path to freedom. I want to empower, as Zig Ziglar says, as all religions say, serve others to get maximum value. And the law of compensation says the same, which we will talk about. And we have found the solution. I've studied a lot of internet millionaires. It's the Western world, it's happening. We got first mover advantage in India, and we can go ahead and make this happen.